One of the teams that was a bit disappointing in Gather Round was Essendon. So Friday night had the marquee slot against Port Adelaide.
I think you can take Gather Round out. I think they've been disappointing for quite a while now, the Bombers.
Well, they won the week before.
You go back to the end of last season. You cannot get that out of your head.
Anyway, so they pulled off the commendable win against St Kilda the week before, only to really sort of disappoint against the Power in Gather Round the next week. Prime time, Friday night footy, that whole thing. I think the thing that sort of leapt out to me is just how different they can be week to week. You talk about another sort of, not myth, but another cliche in footy is, teams have that sort of Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing.
Well, St Kilda is another one that
win-loss last year. But the Bombers seem to be doing this to different extremes than other clubs. And I think you've got some stats that highlight just how different they play week to week. Yeah, how much they struggle week to week or thrive week to week.
Yeah, so it's probably what I've compared is just wins and losses. So when they win, what do their numbers look like when they lose? So you're always going to have higher numbers in wins and things like that, but just the sheer differential is it's stark for for Essendon. So you start from points for 95 points per game they score when they win, 66 when they lose. So it's a 5-goal turnaround just there. But then their points against, 74 when they win. This is going back to the start of last season as well, so taking a fair sample of games. 74 points when they win, they concede. 106 points against when they lose. So again, it's a 60-point turnaround for and against in just that way.
So extreme.
Points that they score themselves from turnovers, they score 53 points from turnovers when they win, 41 when they lose. So they lose 2 goals that way, which isn't great, but turnovers against, so the scores conceded from their own turnovers, 38 points when they win, 68 points when they lose. So another 5 goals there. So again,
what's
just looking at the turnover
there, roughly?
Of
goals or points conceded from turnovers.
About the 39-40 per game, so 37 points.
So they're giving up
they're
5
just
more
under.
goals than that.
Yeah, over the average. So, and again, looking at they're losing 2 goals from their wins, but they're also giving up another 5. So 7-goal turnaround in turnovers alone. But yeah, if you just look at, so that's just looking at them and how they perform in wins and losses. Inside 50 differential's another one, plus 2.7 in wins, which isn't huge, but they're still in the positive. Negative 13.5 in losses. So they just get, the territory game just completely deserts them in losses. And you have a look at what they've sort of done last year compared to this year and what improvements they've made, and it's very hard to see. So that last year they were the best team at moving the ball from one end to the other. Had the best the second best team at moving it from one end to the other. Had the best kicking efficiency of any team.
What does that mean? Can you explain what that means?
So you start the ball in your D50. So any chain that starts in your D50, you're the most successful at getting it to your forward 50. So that's basically how we.
So if you have
a quick
X amount of
improvement.
chains and you convert X amount of those inside 50s, that's your.
So in no particular time or amount of disposal.
Without losing possession or a stoppage.
Just without losing.
So no stoppage occurs and the opposition never got possession of the ball. So there might be a few spoils in that chain. So it might be spoiled, you pick it up.
But it was never a turnover.
Exactly.
Possession.
So you've maintained possession. They're able to do that. As I said, I think it's about.
So why can they do that as well or better than anybody?
Well,
which feels like a fundamental part of the game, yet they still.
Well, this is where my point's taken is. So this is what they were good at last year. They had nailed one part of the game. They were great at moving the ball, and that was one part. And it was his first year as coach. He said, okay, he's fixed one part of the game. They are the second best team at trying to get the ball from one end to the other. Defending that ball movement, they were 17th. So they were actually, North was actually harder to move the ball against from back 50 to forward 50 against Essendon. So they hadn't nailed that defensive part of their game. So you sort of looked at pre-season this year, said, okay, they got one part of their game. The offense is looking okay. They know how to share the ball around. They know how to move it. Next part of their thing is either they need to get better defensively, which can be your back 6 not conceding score, or they just needed to get better at contest, which can help you defensively as well. Because they were, even contested possession differential last year, they were down at 13th. So this year, a little bit of improvement from clearance differential and contested possession differential. So 12th for clearances last year, 3rd this year. 13th for contested possession differential, slightly in the negative, to 9th this year, basically breaking even. But as I said, their kicking efficiency, 1st last year, 17th this year. Their ball movement from back 50, 2nd last year, 17th this year. And as I said, protecting the ball going the other way, so defending ball movement, they were 15th last year and they're down to 17th this year. So the 3 areas that they were good in ball use and moving the ball, they're in now bottom 3.
It's gone.
They've had slight improvement around the contest, which is, might be their Essendon edge and things like that. But
you can't give up. You can't have such a drop off in one area and just.
And it's the one area that you could hang your hat on last year and say, at least if we're building a team going forward, we're going to be an offensive team. And we've spoken I think, on the pod a few weeks ago about Essendon and scoring 100 and losing, sort of, Essendon are one of those teams that can have a high score but actually get pipped because they conceded going the other way. And that's what a lot of the numbers said last year. You've got your offense going, but you've forgotten all about your defense. This year, the offense, as I said, completely gone, and the defence has not improved one iota.
This is tough listening if you're an Essendon fan.
Well, it is.
Because this is supposed to be the building year again, like second year under Scott, and he's come out with a lot of promises. This Essendon edge thing, we're going to be there. Go and meet the Saints. You think, well, maybe they've turned the corner, and then to dish up a performance like that and hear trends like this, I would be quite angry.
Yeah, and right now, think about this: how many sides right now, this moment, do we know 100% are worse than Essendon? West Coast? North?
Probably Hawthorn.
I reckon the list probably ends there. You know 100% Hawthorn.
Well, who else might be in that?
Essendon
You
is
throw
better.
maybe Richmond in there, Hawthorn in there.
Yeah, but they're all in that same area, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think you can sit here right now and say without any doubt that Essendon is a better side than Hawthorn or Richmond.
Yeah, that's fair. The disappointing thing as well is you get someone like Archie Perkins who has such a bright start to the year. He's now out maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks with a hamstring. I don't think Jordan Ridley's playing before the bye.
Yeah, he's done he's re-injured his quad.
It's just starting to look really grim already for Essendon this season.
And we saw, I mentioned before, but we saw once the year was gone how the wheels just fell off. The way in which the last year ended for the Bombers was catastrophic. And there is a risk of that happening again, where it's, you have the off-season to sort of shake that off and prepare again for this year. And before you know it, it just snowballs out of control and your year's gone. And the worry and the concern for Bombers fans, and that could happen again.
Yeah.
I think a similar type drop-off occurs again this year and earlier.
Are these the kind of stats that are sending alarm bells through champion data offices? If you see this kind of stuff, not in isolation, but altogether, is this something where you go, wow, this team's probably not good?
Yeah, exactly. And we try to, not have any bias or look at, it's just a raw number. We're not looking at Essendon and having a logo above the numbers. Just you can bring up a table and not know who the team is and just have a look at the table and say, where's this team
Is this
tracking?
a bottom 4 team?
And I think looking at those numbers so far, yes, this year. And last year, as I said, the only thing that probably kept them out of the bottom 4 was that they were the second. But, once they got the ball in their hands, they could do something with it. That's completely dried up. Yeah, it's clearly, as I said, go back to the 17th and 18th theory, there is some stats that they rank 17th in this year where West Coast or North are actually better than them. So it's looking bleak.
There's your podcast title for the week, Jake. Why the Bombers are bottom 4.
Why the bottom? Well, it's good. Well done, Christian. I like that.